Hey, this is George. And this is Real Talk with George and Frazier. Frazier will be with us shortly, um, but we have a very exciting show. We have author Richard Haddock. I believe I'm praying I'm saying his name right. He'll give us a little bit more of his bio, but awesome show. Definitely want to thank Frazier and thank Richard for coming on to the show. Like I said, Frazier will be here shortly. Oh, there he is right now. So we'll get him in on the podcast. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in and taking this time on this Monday for this very special event. Raj, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Thank you. Very excited about the show, man. Every time we have authors come on the show, being an author myself, it just touches my heart a little bit. You know what I mean? To be able to
Exactly.
pick their brains. So I definitely appreciate it. Looks like you just got out of work.
Yeah, actually, I'm issued with internet already, so no, I go. So I'm
I
doing it to
know.
my phone, not a computer today. So
All right, definitely appreciate it. Well, fans, we have Mr. Richard with us. Hello, sir. Welcome to Real Talk.
How are you?
Doing pretty good.
hey,
Doing
how you
pretty
Pretty,
good.
doing?
pretty, pretty late for you guys.
Yeah, just a
A little bit. We're all good. Definitely all good. So please, sir, tell the fans your name and tell us a little bit about your book. And give us a little bit of your bio. Normally, Frazier and I try to do that, but it seems like every time we do that, we butcher it. So we just let the fans
little.
go ahead and take care of that part of it for us.
Well, how do you know I'm not going to butcher it too? So my name's Richard Haiduck. Tomorrow, actually, my first book comes out. It's called Shifting Gears. 50 baby boomers share their meaningful journeys in retirement. But let me start with the story here. When I keep going on and off camera here. Is that?
We got you. Keep going.
We got you.
Okay.
We see you just fine.
Okay, good. So when I was 7 years old, I wanted to be an author. And I was really intense about it. And all my buddies wanted to do something else. They wanted to be a fireman or a policeman or a test pilot or something like that. But I wanted to be an author. And so I started. And I got this notepad. And every day I would write a story. And the longest story was 1 page. So these were not real intense stories, but they were 1-page stories. And they're all about weird things, fantasy, sci-fi, all sorts of made up imaginary stuff. And that was at age 7. And then I turned 8. And you know what happened? Baseball looked a lot more fun, or playing out with the guys was a lot more fun. And those stories I'm not doing that anymore. So this dream of being an author just disappeared. And then 65 years later, it came back. So now I'm in my 70s. This idea of being an author had disappeared for 65 years. And I was retired, and I was talking to some of my buddies, and a guy that I've known for a long time said, Richard, I've never told you this, but I was in the Senior Olympics. I said, what?
Nice.
You were in the Senior Olympics? How come I didn't know that? And he said, well, I was kind of humble about it. It's a great story, but I feel funny telling it. And I said, well, how'd you do? And he says, oh, I won a medal. And then he went on to tell this really spectacular story about how he won a medal in the Senior Olympics when he was in his 70s. So then it was really weird and just a complete coincidence, but 2 more times in the next 4 weeks, I had a similar experience. Somebody would be talking with me and I'd say, now, what are you doing in your retirement? And what are you doing that's fun? And they'd tell me something that I said, I had no idea you had an interest in that. I had no idea that you were a marathon runner and had done all these different things over your life. So the 2 things kind of connected.
Right.
I always wanted to be an author when I was 7 years old. 65 years later, I've now got the material. And I said, okay, I'm on my way. I'm going to do this.
Nice. I can definitely appreciate that. Being an author myself, I had books on the shelf for 15 years. And, I've already said my story a couple of times, but I'll say it again so you can hear it. It took COVID-19 for me to slow down, to get all those ideals out, everything that was there from property management to working out. So I can definitely appreciate the long journey it is to coming to publishing a book. Now, did you self-publish or you went through a publisher?
I'm kind of halfway between. I've worked with an organization in South Carolina called Publish, and they have a set of services that it's not like having a publisher because I have to pay for it, whereas a publisher, it's on their nickel. But they provide the same services. They have a fairly efficient way of doing it so that they'll do the cover design and they'll help you with the title, and they do some editing and all the things that are other than the writing. And they've now been helping me with, some of the initial promotional activities as well. So they've been a big help. I don't think I could have done it without them.
Right.
I also, before I started working with them, I had about 6 different authors that were kind of mentoring me, that were being helpful to me and telling me all the things that they had done right and wrong. And one of them said, you got to get somebody arm's length from your writing who will tell you when you're screwing up.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And then they'll be straight shoot. And George, you can appreciate this. You write something and you have no idea if it's good, or at least I have no idea if it's good. Some of the things that I thought were the best, this editor just tactfully and gently ripped me to shreds.
Right.
And she said, and she was so good about it. I've not met her in person, but she was so good about making it acceptable for me to change completely what I was thinking. And she had been with 3 of the big 5 publishing houses, really experienced editor. She kept me from doing really dumb things.
Right.
All right. Yay. Always good, right? Makes me make mistakes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of times as creative people or people that have to get things out of their head, they make the story about them. And sometimes the story is not about them. Sometimes the story is about the reader that you're trying to get to, where you can empathize with some of the things that they're going to, and you can put yourself in that position. I went through the exact same thing, going through my books, because a lot of those were my experiences. And I wanted to use my experiences to help people get through some of the things that they were doing, and it came down to like my personal training and workout book per se. By the time I turned that in, it was 70,000 words. They cut it down to 30,000 words to make it readable, simply because it was like, every time something happens, I write it down. I write it in my journal. I put it online. I write it on my phone as an experience that happened to me, specifically the martial arts of working out, And so I thought, here, me and my infinite wisdom, I was going to take all of those experiences from the time I started training at 7, 8 years old to winning the world championship to teaching class every day and compile that in one book. And they were like, Skirt! No, it doesn't happen like that. Okay. Like, you need to break that down. I mean, we know that this is not a biopic. This is
right. So George, I got to come clean with you guys. I kind of cheated on this. I decided this would be in the words of the retirees, that they would be the storytellers.
No.
And I was just the guy that was there asking a few questions, turning on a tape recorder, and then taking it away and getting a transcript of it. And so the book is filled with stories in the words of 50 different people. And they all have different tone. They have different slang. They have different things that are important in their communication style. And I just had to take what they did and pick and choose amongst it. But like you, I came up with an awfully long book. And when I would start the interviews, I would want people to open up. I'd want me to tell them, for them to tell me their story in their words, in their way. And so I had the same opening question every time. Tell me about this stage of your life.
Right.
And then I'd just shut up. I'd listen. I'd let the tape recorder run. And every once in a while, I'd say something like, "Oh, really?" Or, "Oh, tell me more." And so people got comfortable kind of sharing their story and amplifying it and building it and all that sort of thing. And so I got done with the interview process. I'd interviewed 75 people. I had 800 pages of transcript.
Wow. Woo!
Wow.
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 And I thought, wow, this has been really fun. I wonder how much fun it would be to be a first-time author with an 800-page book. And I kind of thought that was a bad idea. And so then the process was, how do you pick and choose? So
Exactly.
for you, you had to write the words. For me, I had to choose the words. I had to pick out of this giant mountain of wonderful, amazing stories, which were the ones that fit together, which were the ones that were most compelling, where the person really told something that would be important for retirees to hear about.
And so, I'm going to put you on the spot. Excuse me. I was going to say it, Frazier. What are some of the things that you've learned? What are some of the things that you've heard? Because, I say it in this wisdom is a life's journey. And sometimes the only thing that we can pass on to the generations is the wisdom that we have, not either to make some of the mistakes that we've made, or sometimes just make things in life just a little bit easier, and we don't get the opportunity to hear a lot of those stories from retirees because we're stuck in this microwave, get everything happens now phase where we don't get to appreciate what it was like before the cell phone, before the internet. you know Even some of the basic things of character building are lost because we spend so much time on our phones as opposed to talking to people and learning. And I always love to hear my elders talk to me about things because, like I tell my son, they've been my age, I'll never be their age. You know what I mean? No matter how long I live on this earth, I'll never catch up to them. And
Nah, I doubt that.
right,
Right.
there's some things that they know that as an astute student, I would love to hear. So what were some of those stories that moved you, that you felt were beneficial, that other people like myself, maybe even some retirees, needed to hear?
I think the giant thing that I learned, and I kind of went into this with a suspicion that this was true, that the storytellers had a higher wisdom than I did. That I wasn't going to listen to all these stories and then say, and here's how you conclude. Here are lessons learned from these 10 stories. These stories speak for themselves.
Right.
And the person tells the story, and then the reader reads the story, and then they say, aha, that's important. Or what is that? I don't care about that.
Right.
But the whole idea is to let the storyteller be at the forefront of all this. Somebody said to me, well, aren't you going to give kind of a checklist of the 10 things you're supposed to do in retirement? Or aren't you going to give your summary of the conclusions of what you've learned and all that? I said, no way. I'm not doing that. I think the storytellers are the king here, not me. I'm in the background. I do some intro stuff and that kind of thing, but it's storytelling. And there are some things that I think I've learned, but they're more relative to me rather than relative to the audience.
Right.
I said to somebody the other day, I said, there's some people out there that want to buy a book about retirement that's kind of a magic formula. And it has, do this first and then do this and then, think about that. And I said, I hope nobody like that buys my book. I don't want that person buying my book, because they're going to look at this and they say, wait a minute, it doesn't tell me the answer.
Right.
No, you got to figure it out for yourself. Like most things, you got to figure it out for yourself. And if you can't learn something from these stories, then no book of a list of 12 things to do is going to help you either.
Right. Absolutely.
That's true. That's true. That is so true.
So what are some of the things that you feel like they should learn for themselves? Because let me put it in context from where we are. It's very rare in today's society that we learn about investing and retirement. The only times that those words investing and retirement happen are in the middle of the work process. So let's say, we've been working 30, 35, 40, and you go, oh, wait, hold on. I'm now 40, and now I have to start planning for my retirement. How do you and your colleagues see that? Because the smarter person would have said, okay, from the time I started working, and believe it or not, those are the most successful. Whether you had a paper route or you were, working in a pizza shop like I did once upon a time, you always knew that there was a certain percentage that you needed to invest and save to get you through that rainy day or look over the horizon to put you in a better position.
So let me take one of the sections of the book and talk about that, because I think that'll address your question. Volunteering is important for a lot of people in their retirement, and the stories I was told, not surprisingly, people said it gives me a sense of purpose. I'm not working anymore. I've got to feel good about something. Giving back through volunteering is important. There's a certain camaraderie with that. There's a certain keeping active and keeping alert. So it can be really fun too, and doing important kind of work. So within the book, there's maybe 8 different stories about a volunteer, and they're each doing something different, and they've each come to different conclusions about what that means to them. There are those common factors of camaraderie, sense of purpose, and some of that sort of thing. But the actual manifestation of that is different for each of the retirees. One guy in particular, really an interesting guy, he decided in his early 50s that he had this very successful job in a high-tech company. And he said, but I do the same thing over and over. I've gotten good at it. So
Right.
they keep saying, well, keep at it. You're good at it. And he said, yeah, but I don't want to keep going. I'm getting bored with it. I got to do something else. And so he left his company in his early 50s, left a remarkable job, high-paying job, high-prestige job, all that kind of stuff. And he said, I'm gonna go and volunteer. And he began, and he was very involved in thinking about climate change and some of those kinds of things, and kind of how do you get power to the developing world? How do you get electrification in kind of various parts of South America and Africa? But for him, the surprising thing was the effect on his teenage kids. They said, Dad, that's so much more important than what you used to do.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Dad, our dinner table conversations I'm engaged with. You're telling stories about things you're doing with a gleam in your eye and a passion for it. And his teenage kids, one of them got really aggressive with him and said, boy, I was thinking you were going to leave us a really crappy world and have us work it out, because this climate change thing is real and you're just ignoring it. And all you do is put some cans in a recycle bin and think that's enough. And he said it was a pretty animated conversation. But he said they've moved on to having a different family relationship as a result of him now devoting his life to some really interesting kind of social impact kind of work.
I definitely can appreciate that, because I understand the need. I always have this saying that ideals are not beholden to one person or one person or one institution. A good ideal is a good ideal, whether it comes from a foreigner, whether it comes from an American, whether it comes from a Democrat, whether it comes from a Republican. It's still a very good ideal. And as we as human beings, we have to be repetitive, so to speak, to support our families. But where we really find joy and fulfillment is accomplishment and being useful. Using your mind other than just the mundane thing that you're putting in place. Because now, with that gleam in his eye, he's changing lives. When you talk about getting energy to places that don't have any energy or power, or climate change, we only can dream that we have that kind of job, where we're happy to get up every day.
Right.
Most people are just like, oh man, I got to get up, coffee, right?
Well, yeah.
But then all of a sudden now you get to where you want to go, and whether it's real estate for me and Frazier, or it's working out, or anything else, all of a sudden you can just wake up, jump out the bed, boom, ready to go, as opposed to sitting here dragging your feet. And
Right.
I think the
So
biggest,
another one of the volunteer guys had a different lesson, and one I never would have thought about. He said, when you're retired, you get to do what you want a lot more. You've got a lot more freedom. You don't have a boss breathing down your neck. You don't, and your financial security, you either have it or you don't. And so you have a freedom to operate in a way that is best for you. This guy had a strong commitment to giving back after having had a successful career.
mm-hmm.
And he said, but I'm gonna pick an organization that is just right for me. And he said, I knew at the outset the way I was going to do that was trial and error. And I said, what? And he said, trial and error? And he said, yeah, you don't get to do trial and error in your career. You don't get to try something for a month and then quit, try something for a month and then quit. I mean, you can do that for a while and then you're unemployable. But he said, in retirement, you're
That's
volunteering. You get to decide whether this is right for you.
right.
So he, in a fairly short period of time, went through 4 different volunteer organizations. And each one he thought was going to be good. He got into it. He stayed there for a little while. And then he said, no, this isn't what I was looking for. But his lesson was, don't take something that isn't just right for you.
Exactly.
Just say, screw it, I'm not doing this anymore, and move on. And when it's a volunteer setting, as long as you're being open with people and saying, I'm going to try this for a while and see if it's right for both of us. And then if it isn't, I'm going to move on. And this guy 4 times in fairly quick succession. And then he says, now I found it. I found the ideal situation involving mentoring social entrepreneurs who are trying to accomplish something. This guy is a great coach and leader and mentor, and he's just found his spot, and he loves it.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
but his position is where everybody else wants to be. You're
Exactly.
not. Your house is paid off. You got this check coming in every month. You know what I mean? You just see if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do that. Because you're not up to your neck every day with the dad.
Well, yeah, and retirement. There's two things, and this came out of a lot of the interviews too. It is really a great time of your life, as long as health and wealth are okay. If you get sick and you're hobbling around with something that's debilitating, or it's hard to have a great retirement when you're sick.
Sure.
It's hard to have a great retirement if you didn't set aside some money and if you're broke.
Right.
But if you get the health and the wealth part to work, retirement's got a remarkable amount of freedom. You can do all sorts of different things, some of which might be volunteering and giving back. Some might be some new hobby. Some might be some new activity that you've always wanted to do.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, same with me. I can inspire to volunteer. I love volunteering. I love giving back. That's why I like to coach, and I used to do program called Youth in Action, where we deal with pre-juveniles, where the millenniums, not the baby boom, but we had one guy named Mr. John. He's a baby boomer. He served in Pearl. He did Pearl Harbor. He served in Pearl Harbor. He served in a lot of wars in the Navy, and I learned so much from him. He has a remarkable story, and he comes back. He says, "I could do so many things," but he started doing upholstery, fixing furniture. I said, "Why would you pick furniture? I don't think, dude. Why would you pick that? They don't talk back to you, and they love you when you finish it."
That's great.
And they always love you when you finish. It looks so beautifully done. I said, "Huh?" He said, "Well, you understand when you get older. Now that I got older, I kind of understand what you're talking about."
Absolutely.
He retired. He having fun. He said, "I can do what I want to, play with grandkids, do everything I want to do." And on top of that, I get 2 checks: a retirement check for job and a retirement for the military. Can't get better than that. I said, maybe.
No. So one of the other guys expressed his retirement freedom in a different way. This guy had worked actually at IBM for basically his whole career, and he said, I got really good at analytical, systematic, kind of IT kind of stuff. He said, I used my left brain, all the analytical stuff. I got really good at it. And that was my life, was a left brain life. And he says, as I neared retirement, I said, well, now what am I going to do? And he said, I still got half of my brain to use. I'm going to have a right brain retirement. I said, what? A right brain retirement? He says, yeah, I'm abandoning all that analytical, systematic stuff. If I never see another analytical, systematic thing in my life, then my retirement is nirvana. And so he picked up a paintbrush. He started becoming an artist. He got himself deeply immersed in music. And he's having a delightful time of it. He's now, he had his first art show and he sold something like 30 different pieces. And he says, wow, art is really a great way to go. And he's making money off the artwork. He took a trip to Greece and he said he'd never sung solo in his life. He went into some bar, some rowdy Greek bar, and somehow got himself on stage singing solo. And he tells his story, and it's like, I don't understand how you can just kind of walk into a bar on the other side of the world and somehow get up on stage and be singing. And he said, well, that's only part of the story. He said, pretty soon I was in these singing groups of people that were on this Greek island. And he says, I remember this one night we went out to sing together and we sang together until the sun came up.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's like a good jam.
And I said, I bet there was some ouzo involved, right? And he wouldn't answer that question. That's not actually in the book, but I just assumed they were having a little ouzo while they were singing. But he said it was the most revealing kind of right brain experience that this guy who had never done any of this kind of stuff is now shifted into this creative, artistic art and music life, and is loving it. He's just said, I never knew all this stuff existed. His wife was a bit of an artist, and so he'd always been kind of watching what she did with some interest. But then at retirement, he says, that's what I'm going to do.
That's so beautiful.
That's nice.
The way that you're talking, I can't wait to get to retirement.
I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to get to retirement.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. You know what I mean? And if it's beautiful like that, man, sign me up. I can't wait to get there.
What?
Yeah, before we go too far, Jordan, I got some stories in there that aren't so beautiful. I didn't want this to make this into an optimist book. One of the guys, he and his wife moved up into the wine country here in California and kind of got their ideal retirement house, and they got some new patterns of what they did all day and all that sort of thing. And you can probably guess where this one ends.
Yeah.
The fires raged through, their house burned to the ground. And he tells the story of waking up in the middle of the night with no power in the house, and the winds, 70-mile-an-hour winds blowing. He walks out to his living room where he's got all glass doors and there's flames everywhere. So the story of escaping from the house was the first part of the story. And then the second part is how do you start over? How do you get over that? How do you rebuild? And he was very honest with it. He said, at the time we were escaping, we were not scared at all because your body takes over. And I have to take him at his word on this. I would be, that would scare the crap out of me.
Right.
But with him, apparently not. They just said, we got to get out of here. We got to do this and this and this. So they had their escape. But then he said, after they got out safely, the question was, how do we relate to this? How do we respond to it? And he said, my first reaction was anger. He said, why me? This isn't fair. We've worked all of our lives to get to this point, and now it's all taken away from us. Both he and his wife had to kind of go through that. there's a sequel to the story that isn't in the book, but this same couple bought another house, stayed up in the wine country, and I got a call from them. This was a few weeks ago, and they said, "We've been evacuated again. We don't know if our second house is going to burn down." And I just thought, oh God, how do you go through that? How do you deal with that? And they were just completely rattled the second time, because they knew when you lose your house, how you have to start over and how tough that is and all that. So the second time was even worse, and the uncertainty around it was troubling. The happy ending is the house was not burned down. They were able to go back. It burned some trees around their house, but their house was intact. But can you imagine going through that? I mean, it's just
no. They got to be one of the toughest times you can go through.
No, absolutely.
So I got to make sure George doesn't retire after this phone call. I got to give him some sad stories.
Oh well, no. I mean,
you think about it. You think about it over there.
Well, look like this. I've been to California, and the reason why I never relocated to California, in all honesty, was when I went to San Diego, or I was there, they had a little trimmer, and everybody was laughing at me because I was freaking out. And they were like, dude, that happens all the time. And I was like, listen, okay, I'm from New Jersey, where the ground doesn't shake. The ground is trembling here, and you guys are laughing at me like I'm from Mars. And they were like, why are you getting all worked up? I was like, because what can I grab? I'm going to sit under a table. You can't grab a tree. The ground is shaking.
Right.
They're talking to me about why am I all rattled? I don't live here through this. Okay. And I got to go. So I left.
Hey,
so I realized then,
so.
Exactly.
Remember Hurricane Miami? Remember Hurricane Andrew? Remember that? Houses go outside though, houses gone. Like you didn't see nothing. Talking about flat plane with houses be all everywhere. People walking around. It's like something in the Stone Age. You start all over again.
Right.
And like everything. And the funny thing is, I'll tell you a story. We got wiped off the map. Then we know where to find us. That's how bad it was. So imagine house gone, house got gone. They don't know how to find you. Rescuers can't get to you, and you're still waiting on find some find. Hopefully, and praying for somebody happen to drive by, get through the debris to get to you. And someplace happen. You see, you walk around every day, and I tell you, that's probably the hardest experience because you had food, but guess we had to cook it faster because you don't want to spoil. So you had to cook a lot of food ahead of time. You had to boil a lot of water. I mean, a lot of stuff you had to do. And to me, it brought three scenarios. One, it brought people together. So you never knew your neighbor. You knew them then, The other part is you learn to work together. You learn how to achieve things together and rebuild together, as it just separate. And then I would say probably support is a value, effort some people don't have after tragedy, because everybody go separate ways or move away. So to me, I think what they went through, I can know it twice because I've been through that. This ain't burnt down.
Right.
But man, I'm going away. That's just worse.
But plus, on top of that, I think the big thing is it frees you from things, because if you are worried about a house, then you've completely missed it because you can't take that house with you. Right. Some of the things that in my life, I know I'm only 46, but in my life, I found some of the best freedom in this world when I liberated myself from stuff of accomplishment. I got to go buy this, or my peers just bought this house, or they live in this. No. I don't really care about the $1 million house because I know what it costs to heat this house. I don't care about the $150,000 car because I know what it costs to put gas in this car. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need all of those things. And I found out once I liberated myself from all that stuff, I was actually free. I can go do what I want to do and how I want to do it because I wasn't bogged down by the perception of how my life had to be. You know what I mean? Or what was important to me. I remember telling the story that, the reason why I love my wife is because she loved me when I didn't have anything, when we lived in an apartment together. So what we're building here, we're building together, and if we lost all this, we could still live in a cardboard box because we're a family, we're a tight-knit unit. And we never put all these things as qualifications to live. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we had to live like this or we're not living. No, we're living every day.
It's interesting you say that, because that's what got this couple that had their house burned down. That's what got them through it. They said, it's only a house. It's only a material thing. We've got each other. We didn't get hurt. A lot of people had a really tough experience with injuries or even death. That wasn't us. This was a house. And it took, the immediate reaction was anger of something being taken away from them. But the second response was very much like what you just said. We've got it. They had each other. They have a very loving relationship. They have great friendships. They have great values. They do very caring things. And they lost their house. And losing the house was a big deal at first. And then it wasn't. And then it was just a house. So I think we're looking at that in a similar kind of way. But they didn't initially. Their initial reaction, his initial reaction was anger. Right. But then once he got over it, he became a much more mature look at it.
No, absolutely.
That's true.
I definitely appreciate that.
That is true. I mean, I think for me, I learned how to learn a lesson through COVID-19 because I was already constantly doing things. I was worst person money, worst person do everything. Material thing had to be this. You had to have that. But what COVID-19 taught me piggyback what George said, piggyback Richard said, what you said, Richard, that you learn how to value certain things you didn't value before. Time. The things you think about, you always wanted to do. You have to think about dreams you used to think about before you lost. And you have to think, why I never do that before? Why I never did this? Why I never thought about this? Why it never came through my head before? Why started to get more clear. The why started to become, I'm gonna do it. I should do it. What stopped me from doing it? Right. Why not do it? So and like learning through that, you learn how to manage money, you learn how to value family, which is very support. Go back to support thing. And I'm not married like George, so I didn't have that support like George did, or like that. So mostly me, my family, my moms, and we were a very close, tight-knit family. So we pretty much stayed together, and it taught us a lesson how to stay together and work out things. And it's fun how you could think so much clearer than before. We had a constant thing going through your head, like working all day, working 7 days a week, 6 days a week. And it made me think about how retirement was. If you think about it, COVID-19 was kind of like a sort of taste of retirement, but not retirement,
Oh, yeah, the lockdown, right?
Yeah.
No bills letter calling you. Nobody tell you owe no money. Nobody trying to force you to pay. You have to pay no more. You had time to think, relax, and see what it feel like to be retired or be free for a few months or close to a year. You felt like what it is to be free. Some people manifested and grew. Some people stayed the same way. Some people still didn't learn lessons. Still trying to learn a lesson now. Write your book. They can help some people and learn nothing.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Well, Richard, we want to thank you for coming on the show. Do you have any last jewels you want to leave with us?
Exactly. Share the jewels. Help us out.
I think this is, I think people going into retirement, people usually retire once, and so they don't know how to do it. And I guess what my overall message is, find a way to learn about yourself, your passions, what you want to do. Who are your role models? Who are people doing things that you say, oh, that sounds like the kind of thing I might want to do. If you need a book with a list of 12 things in it, and that helps you to get through this, then do that. If you need a book of storytelling, then do that. Or if you've got a good buddy that has done something you admire. But recognize that it's a learning that you have to go through.
Right.
Exactly.
All right, really quick. When will the book be released? I'm guessing it'll be in Amazon and Barnes & Nobles.
Funny you should ask. Tomorrow morning.
Beautiful.
Tuesday, November 17th.
Beautiful. So we got the first interview.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's right. So actually, you're the second interview today. So my first one was a company that I used to be associated with was having their annual shareholders meeting, and they asked me to come to the meeting and tell them about my book.
Oh, nice.
So that was very brief and not nearly as interesting as this was. So
Well, we definitely appreciate you being on Real Talk, and we would definitely love to have you again.
Okay, good. This was
Exactly.
fun. You guys are a great team.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you. We
Okay,
enjoyed you.
have
We
fun.
enjoyed you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All
Great
right,
interview,
man.
man. You too funny. You too cool.
Great interview. Great interview, Fraze.
I want to be
Like
like
I
that when
said,
I retire. I want to be like that when I retire.
I'm
I want to be
working
that
on that
energetic
now.
and happy.
Okay, I'm working on that right now. I'm not gonna sit here and
I'm trying
wait.
to. I'm with you, George. We trying to get there. We trying to get there.
Oh, I definitely appreciate it. But those jewels and those words of wisdoms, it's very rare that we get to sit down with a lot of our elders and be able to learn those things, because life is so interesting. Richard talked about being able to find a mentor. A lot of times that's what slows us down is the fact that we don't have somebody that says, "Wait, hold on, young buck.
Exactly.
You don't want to step there, and you don't want to do this." You know what I mean? And
Exactly.
some of us have spent tens of thousands of dollars to find mentors that would be able to help us, push us through things. You see the ideal, you see the energy I have, you see the enthusiasm, you see my direction. But a lot of times, I'm only 80% there, I'm only 70%
Exactly.
there. What else do I need? And that's where that wisdom comes in to be able
That is
to
true. You're right. I mean,
to
I
be
was
able to help.
blessed. I was blessed growing up. So I was blessed to have a lot of old influences. My uncles. I had people who was around me who I did most older people before I did my own age. So I was already talking to somebody older than me or somebody not much younger than me because we had to talk about.
Right.
But the wisdom that you learn and the life lessons you learn to go through, and sometimes it helps you avoid certain things in life that you probably would have stumbled over in the trial error theory. But I mean, I avoided some of the trial and error, but something I did have to go through. But it prepared me for those things that happen. Prepared me for what to look forward to, what not to do. If you do this may happen, or you do this may happen there. So it kind of, I mean, older influence, wisdom should be embraced. And a lot of people, I think people take a disadvantage of that. Don't take advantage of it. You have old uncle,
Well, no,
older
this
uncle,
is
something.
still young
No,
kids, Fraze. They too grown now. You can't really talk to them the way that,
exactly. I
"Oh,
know
I'm
more
gonna
than you
figure
know.
it out," and then next thing you know, they come back to you like, uh, uh,
Yep. That.
uh, um, you know what I mean? And you'd be like this, what,
Yeah.
what? Go ahead, say it.
But
What?
Dad, what
You got
happened
something to say to
was
me?
they won't never say you were right though. They would never say you right though. But Dad, one thing you told me last week, yeah, you were close to what you were close, Dad. You were close.
That was
You were
close.
that close.
I should have listened to you, man. I should have listened to you. I always get the one
Exactly.
after the fact phrase. They'll be like, George, so what happens if you got a tenant in the place and you got to get him out? And I'd be like, that same tenant I told you to do a background check on before you have him rent the place? Well, if it's that particular same tenant, too funny.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. Oh,
definitely,
my favorite one coaching. And the guy tell the kids, Coach, I'm gonna sack quarterback like this. I like this. Sure, go ahead and do it. Game time, say, Coach. It was harder than I thought it was. Why you tell two guys gonna double team me like that? That was embarrassing, Coach. I couldn't get past these two guys over here. But did I tell you in practice that we were working on how to get past double team stuff? Oh yeah, I remember now. That's the prep I walked away from and said I didn't want to do, huh? I said,
uh-huh.
mm-hmm.
The funny thing is, phrase, my grandmother, God bless her, she had two phrases. She always would say, a hard head make a soft behind. That's the first
Oh,
one.
that's everybody for example.
And then the second one was, life will show you better than I can tell you. And I never
Oh yeah,
deviated from those two things. Life will show you better than I can tell you. I
that is
heard her
true.
say it
Hey,
to my uncle, uh, and I never forgot it. I never forgot it because it was just, it was those jewels are that words of wisdom that you're able to live by all the time so you don't get caught up in everything else that's happening. And sometimes,
exactly.
look, I was young and headstrong too, no doubt about it. That's how I lost
Yeah,
thousands of dollars. You see what I'm saying?
exactly.
Until I finally
We
realized,
all
wait,
had
look, wait, hold on. You say maybe I do need to listen and ask questions. Maybe I do need to
exactly.
approach this a little bit different, but that hit my wallet. and that's
It
basically how you
paid.
learn. So it's definitely
That one that's
def-
I learned. Consequences. Whatever you do, you gonna feel it later. Huh? Yeah. If you spend a lot of money for no damn reason, you gonna feel it later. No, I
it's
don't know what you're
true.
talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Absolutely
And don't let you
true.
tell me. So, money, baby said, hard head with a soft behind. So I said, you know what? Hard ears make you listen later on in life.
Oh yeah,
After
no doubt about it.
you're sick, can't breathe, trying to figure out what you want to do in life, or you're broke. Those both things gonna have you. Yes, hello. Can I have that advice you gave me like 20, 30 years ago?
Oh no,
I
by
was
then it's
dang
too
pretty
late.
to listen to.
By then it's too late. You know, I
Exactly. You don't
get
want to
that.
pull
I
it, you
get that
bug, you
all.
do it.
I get that all the time. Especially from clients where they'll be like, I need help with this diet. And I'm like, the same diet I told you 18 months ago that you need to start paying attention to, right? Oh, I need this, I need that. Weren't you the one giggling? Ah, you got to die from something at some time. What do you need me for now? I've moved on past that. I'm taking care of
Exactly.
myself and what I have to do. I can't now go backwards and help you with the diet that you should have been on more than 2 years ago. It's interesting.
Exactly. It's
So,
hey,
Frazier,
maybe not listening. I got injuries by not listening, not paying attention. So I know don't go
yeah,
that
that's true.
don't go this way. Go
That's
this way. Oh yeah, I felt it. Yeah, I felt you why I go that way. Not
Like
fun
I
at
told
all.
you, hard head, make it soft behind. I told
Hard
you.
make a soft behind, right?
So, Frazier, real quick, man. We have about
What you got?
15 minutes for the show. We got to talk
What you
about
got?
uh, politics.
Ooh, yeah. You seen the stuff going on now?
Well, here's my thing with it.
Afterwards?
Wait, here's my thing, right? I'm not going to say the name of it because everybody knows what's happening. But
Yep.
this particular lawsuit in Michigan, if you get rid of 1.4 million votes, right? Aren't you hurting the
Yep.
down ticket for the people that voted? Because in Michigan, what they're finding is a lot of split tickets. So if you were a Democrat, you voted all the way up, and then you voted for another candidate at the top of the ticket, right? Well, in
Exactly.
Republicans, that's what they did. They voted all the way up the ticket till they got to the presidency, and then they voted for Biden. So if you get rid of 1.4 million votes in Michigan, aren't you hurting the Republicans that legitimately won?
Is that true? That is true. But Mama, he's not thinking about that. He's thinking about himself right now. He thinking about I want to win. I should have won. This shouldn't have happened to me. It's called denial. It's a very good thing. Because I remember the following election. Remember when it happened the same way to Hillary? Remember? And Hillary said the same, but Hillary didn't sue anybody. She should have let it go. So I would say follow your own advice. Because think about it. If you like Florida, like certain states, you say they voted all Republican up point, then president went Democrat. Then you have some Democrat did also the same thing too. They went all the way up Democrat and they voted Republican.
Right,
Because they like certain things somebody said. So
right.
if you're talking about doing that, because I believe they Georgia, I think you try to put Georgia on the list of states you want to sue. Um,
No,
quite a
he
few
is
other
suing.
states.
Right, he is suing. Okay. Here's the thing with that, right? Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, and Pennsylvania are four of the states that were Republican held when they put the voting
Exactly.
initiative in place, which means they actually made it harder to vote, not easier. In those four states that I
Exactly.
just mentioned, you have a 3-point ID check that you have to go through to be able to vote: signature, address, and photo ID. 3-point check that you have to be able to vote. See what I mean? So
Exactly.
my whole thing is you can't sit there and um, put these type of restrictions in place, and then when they work, you go, oh, there was 12. What do you say? There was 12,000 dead people that voted.
Yeah.
So there's 12,000, 100,000 dead people that voted, but your system that you put in place to catch them didn't catch them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Something is wrong, And here's the danger with that. It's not the fact that it happened. It's the fact that you have a certain faction of people that believe it. And so
Exactly.
what you're going to see happen is the same strategy that happened with Obama. When he gets in, you're going to have the fiscal conservative all of a sudden talk about the debt ceiling and talk about the
Exactly.
budget. You see what I mean? And those were not
Exactly.
things that were an issue when this administration was just printing money, you know. And whenever they talk about the debt ceiling and the budget and cutting back, you notice from a historical standpoint, people that look like us in our communities, we're the ones that the budget gets trimmed on. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
so in
Which
other
is
words,
right.
the grants for small businesses will get cut, but they'll increase the money for policing. You know what I'm saying? Or the
Exactly.
grants for education will get cut in urban communities. You see what I mean? But they'll increase
Exactly.
the money someplace else. And it's
Or
like,
exactly.
oh, but we never
And
get
go
a
back
fair
with the
shake. Exactly. But we never get a fair shake at that because
no.
all of a sudden they go all the way back to their conservative views. I mean, it's the same thing. I think I said this on the show before, maybe not.
Yeah.
It was the same thing about the Christian conservatives. Me being a Christian, the thing that bothers me the most is if you look at Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton did the one thing that she should have been praised for, but she never was for in the Christian conservative community. She could have divorced Bill, and
Exactly.
she did. She stayed in her marriage for the whole world to see after the fact.
Exactly.
Then you have a guy running for president who's been unfaithful to every woman he's been with, right? And he's railing on her for something that her husband did. And they then turned around and said, oh, she was a part of it. She was a part of it. See, I'm old,
Exactly.
but I'm not that old, but I still remember the day that their daughter had to walk in between the two of them, arm in arm, elbow to elbow like this when they were going to the helicopter.
Exactly.
After the fact that Bill admitted that, oh, babe, everything I said was a lie. Actually, it's true. Remember the
Exactly.
sunglasses she had on? Her eyes were
Yeah.
so puffy, this, that, and the third. Remember that walk? I remember that walk.
Exactly.
Okay. She never got any
Exactly. But you
credit
want
for that. Okay.
but you want
Never.
too. Exactly. You want too though. If you ever look at the stats of popularity back then, after he came back and said that, his popularity went up almost 20%. Even the communities who didn't really like him also saw him as a human being now. They didn't see him at the top of the pedestal anymore. They saw him as a person who did wrong, admit he did wrong, and trying to move forward to actually make it work now and try to fix what he started. And
Yeah,
we look
but
at you.
look, not to cut you off, the same person who was sitting there talking about all the stuff that he did was having an affair. Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich is having an affair with his assistant. Okay, at the same
Exactly.
time, he was prostituting Bill Clinton. Now, it doesn't make a difference that he divorced his wife and married her. She's now the ambassador to the Vatican
Exactly.
for the fact that he did it. And the level of hypocrisy that we're seeing from the conservatives and the religious conservatives, it's like this. Okay? The reason why I feel like the reason why Jesus gave us some commandments, he gave us some
Exactly.
commandments that were crucial for where we're going and what we're going to do. Meaning, when he says, test the spirit by the spirit. Okay? If you read
Exactly.
the Bible, when Jesus said that in the New Testament, test the spirit by the spirit, that was a command that Jesus said. That wasn't divine intervention that the disciples had figured, oh, the Holy Spirit gave me. Why did he tell you? Because he knew that we were going to be in a place in this particular life where that was going to be the standard, you know? And my whole
Exactly.
thing with this phrase is the fact that you didn't take the best, you took the worst person and put him on a pedestal, right? Just because you wanted judges and you wanted certain laws changed. And it doesn't work like that because
It
everybody's
doesn't.
looking at you. And because of these things are happening, if you look at the statistics, people are running away from religion and church now after seeing this, as opposed to running to it. That's the damage that you've done. A lot of people talk about God and talk
Exactly.
about this, that, and the third, but there's no moral authority to do it because it's not seen from your actions. It's not seen
No,
from your
no,
actions.
because he he went to the gray line. Like people always talk about the gray line.
He ain't go to the
He
gray
lived
line,
through the gray
Frazier.
line.
He went all the way across to the black line, and we can't even find the line he went to. He ain't going to gray line.
That's what I'm talking
Calling the
about.
gray
He
line,
made a whole new
calling the
line.
gray line is being nice. That's not nice. The man went so far,
Trying to be
okay,
nice to
that
y'all
even the
up here.
devil himself couldn't find the line that he went to. Okay, the man lies
That
so
is
much
true.
they stopped counting at 24, 25,000. The lies the man told. Okay, and you know me. My biggest
Little
thing
more than
is,
that.
well, I'm being generous, but you know me. I told you,
Okay,
you know me. Grace. What's my worst thing that you can do to me?
exactly.
What? Lie to me, right?
Lie. Exactly. The
So
first thing to do is lie, be dishonest, and deceive me.
that's it.
All that. I mean, be real about it. But the thing is that the voice he opened up, the people he gave voices to, don't want to go back in that closed door anymore. So not
I'm
only did he
agreeing.
leave, he left chaos.
I'm
He left
agreeing. You
chaos.
know, when you start to feel yourself and start to feel the power that you have, why would you go back?
Exactly.
Here's the problem.
Exactly.
They're going to have to be able to deal with that particular faction
That's
of that particular party
exactly.
because they're not going to go away, you know, and we're going to be stuck in this Pandora's box or this hamster wheel of constantly turning until we can figure out a way of cutting that out because I feel like that's a cancer. When I say that that's a cancer, they're not a cancer, but the treatment is like if you're dealing with cancer, a lot of times they cut it out. But if you leave just a little piece,
Exactly.
it will grow again. So when I
Go
say it's like
again.
a
Exactly.
cancer, when I say it's like a cancer, I'm not saying they're cancerous. I'm saying their ideas and ideology. If you miss just one piece of it, you have the option in the future to keep repeating that because that type of learning comes from home. You know, how
Is it
can
true?
I how can my daughter in third grade be asking me about Donald Trump if she's not hearing it from her friends at school? You know, I live in a Republican district, even
Exactly.
as an
But it's
independent.
true
You
though.
see what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's why I'm independent too. But I say that too. I mean, I thought I was trying to see as using the youth today as a way of changing the idealist of racism and all that stuff there, instilling them the fact of the matter. Look, everybody is equal. There's no color differential. There's no black, white, and blue. You're just an American. I'm gonna go piggyback what I said everybody so before. Being American does not mean you gotta be categorized as I'm this, I'm black or white. I said no, you're American. You're American. You know, you look out for each other. You build with each other. You grow with each other. This country built on it becomes built on ideas of other people. You know, it was built. Inventions were built for people that wasn't born here. You know, it
Right.
came immigrated here. You know, and those same ideas is what was closed out all these years. Wasn't the first 4 years, this 4 years here, it was started way back when other presidents came in. They took slowly but surely took it out. Just president 4 years, just shielded up. Today, no,
Oh
won't do
man,
nothing.
so this
So
guy, Richard Nixon, looked like a saint when I tell you, a straight saint. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, there's no doubt about it. Okay. If you look at all the stuff Richard Nixon did it, you know, like this on the slide. But even he knew where he was.
exactly,
This guy, like I said, he's done it so bad with no particular repercussions that you just look and go, wait, huh? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I tell people, don't get me wrong. I'm sure when they did decide to do it, it had a reason behind it. I mean, every time you a track record and say no, he can fix this, he can fix this. That's what it was. But reality was it is he could fix this. He made it worse and worse and worse.
Look,
He
Fred,
kept going,
I'm in New
kept going.
Jersey, right? You know, I'm in Central Jersey, as a matter of fact. So I remember what he
Oh
did.
man,
He
you way it down.
Trump Plaza and everything else. We were part of that whole area here in my space in New Jersey to watch it all go down. So I
Exactly.
was never convinced about what he could and couldn't do because I knew him for who he was, you know. But
Exactly.
go back to what I was saying before when he was running. When that tape came out and he was talking about how he did this and that to women, I thought that that was over, and I thought that people were going to stand up. Well, I got a daughter, so there's no way you're going to sit
Yep.
here and talk about women. I got a mother and a sister, and
Exactly.
and that's okay. But to hear other women come out and go, "Oh, I've heard worse. Oh, that was just what do you say, locker room talk." Your boy's never been in a
Exactly.
locker room. Explain to me how that's locker room talk. And see, the thing
Exactly.
is, they kept giving him
Exactly.
passes and giving him passes and giving him passes to the point to where we are right now, where he didn't address COVID. Go back and check the record. Under the last administration with Obama and Biden, you know how many people died from Ebola in the United States? Two.
Not a minute. Two. Wait, two
Two,
out of whole all
Frazier.
wait, just two?
Two,
Just two?
Frazier. Two. Okay? We're now in the
Wow.
point where You know, maybe I'm selfish, but we're now on the point where I'm not going to be able to have Thanksgiving with my family the way I want to. Maybe Christmas. I got to wait all the way till April to see if there's a vaccine that could work for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because he
It's
thought it
crazy
was
though.
a joke. He thought it was a
It's
joke.
crazy though. It's crazy though. Oh, but shit, that me change the subject here. But you hear the sad news about the Sinbad?
No.
He had a stroke. Sinbad, the former comedian, the great comedian,
I know
the
who Sinbad
wonderful.
is. He had a stroke.
Yeah, he had a stroke, and I was listening to the actor was Brady. Tom Brady was saying that Brady, the comedian, was saying that he made a good point. He said we should highlight people while they're alive, get their roses while they're alive, not while they're don't wait till they pass away or something like that. And it touched me because I said, no, it's true. That is true. We do highlight people while they're alive. We don't give them the credit and credential they need to say they did a great job. We wait till they pass away and we give them all the roses, give them all the roses, all the praises. You know, and forget all the stuff that happened during the year to them, whatever. Which I think is wrong. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, what do you think that you think we should give our roses, get people get roses now, or wait till they
Oh
pass
yeah,
away? And
absolutely. No doubt about it, man. I'm just googling this, man. My heart is broken. You know, he was very good as to some of the things that he was doing and his message. But yeah, look, you always celebrate. I'm gonna say it like this, okay? Knowing how
Mhm.
COVID ran through our communities, we know somebody who's died from COVID or who's been infected from it. You know, and the thing about the COVID-19 conversation that affects me is the fact that you take it so lightly because it has an effect on you. Okay. You can say
Exactly.
what you want to say, but if it was your mother, if it was your aunt, if it was your uncle, if it was that somebody that passed, you can't tell me that I got to get over it when I thought they were going to be here for Thanksgiving. You can't tell
You're
me
right.
that I got to get over it because they're no longer here to watch my son play basketball. You can't tell me that. And
You're right.
the fact that you don't understand that is what really bothers me.
That is true.
But anyway,
Where the compassion?
that's our
Compassion.
show.
Some people have compassion.
That's true. But anyway, that's our show. Listen, we want to thank Richard for coming on the show. Check out his book tomorrow. It's going on live for Real Talk. Frazier, I want to thank you for making it even through the cell phone
Hey,
episode.
cell phone is money, baby.
No doubt. Hey, this is George,
Hey, this is Fred.
and this is Real Talk with George and Frazier.
Be blessed.